We call India shining now
Mm.
with all the new information technology, all the breakthrough we have made in the space science, whatever it is. We have had our scientists like Sir C.V. Raman, he's a Nobel laureate, and then we have had our Amartya Sen from Bengal, who also he got a Nobel Prize and for economics. Like that, we have got our share. Just now we had the Booker Prize, that Arvind Adiga, a young man, he has won a Booker Prize. Like that, we are shining in certain areas, but struggling in many more areas. So that is what is hurting me, I told you. Because I have seen a little life here and there, and in the course of my interaction with people, and whenever I have been connected with an NGO and trying to help people, I have come across that because the need is, as I told you, our three basic needs are roti, kapda, makan, I said. That is, roti is food to eat. Everybody must have food to eat. Everybody must have decent clothing. See, it's not as bad as it was before. Then you will have just something for the waist, and the men will walk bare like that, and the women will have a sari, one or two saris. But you want some decent clothing for winter, clothing for the rains, like that. And the children, you want to dress them well. You cannot afford to just let them go bare body. That's what they were doing in those days. They didn't mind, they didn't care. It's not so now. And then a house, a place to call your own. Even if it's a small little place, it must have everything that you need, comfortable. And I would rather go forward because people say the villagers come over looking for employment and they create the slums. You see, if you give them the same accommodation they have in the village, what do they have? They have one room and a little place where they can tie their cow or goats or chicken or whatever it is, and a few banana trees they might have. Some little guava, some curry patta, something like that. A little yard in front for the children to play and for the women to winnow their rice or whatever it is. That's all they want. You cannot put them in small holes and say this is your home and you live there. And then you say they create slums. So we must give them all these three things. Of course, now they have food. They earn well because in a slum, in one small little place, there are 4 or 5 people. All of them earn. It's not in the other classes like the upper middle class and the rich families where only the husband goes for work, the women just sit around playing cards or having parties and like that. Everybody has to earn, and so there's a lot of money coming in. They can eat well, they can dress well, but they want to live well also. That's what I'm trying to tell you. So we must assure them they want education, just as we want our children to go to good schools. They don't have to be put to any school where there's no teacher, or sometimes there's no blackboard, sometimes there are no books, no seating arrangement. Doesn't matter, even if it is under the tree. Let them be comfortable, let the teacher be a good teacher, really interested in teaching. And then the children will be happy. We give them the books and whatever they want. And today, education is going in faster pace. The pace is so fast. You have computers, you have this and that, and then our children also must have that. They must have access to all these things. That's what I'm trying to say. And where do you start? Because everybody you talk to, they say India is a vast country, so many people. How can we, before we start, trying to balance development, population has gone up. So how many more schools to build? How many more buses? How many more roads? How many more houses? That's where my family planning work came. You see, if you tell the people, create an awareness amongst them. If you want good education, if you want good jobs for your children, if you want them to be healthy, if you want to have a proper family life, please plan your family. Marry your girls later so that they don't give birth immediately, they marry. You see, in the West it might be the unwed mother's problem. Here it is the wed, she is already married, but she is married too young and she has babies. The same problem. They're not married, they're young, and you say they have sex before marriage and all that. Here they marry and they have sex and they have children and whom they cannot look after. There at least the government looks after them. Here no government looks after them. So either the man gets jaded and he leaves the family and runs away, and this girl has to work and look after all the 3-4 children she would have already had by the time she is 20. And where is the time for her education? How is her health? How is she going to look after the children? Where is she going to work? And even pay and all that hasn't been, you see, the pay commission and all these people, they have done a lot of labor reforms. Everything is there. The rules are there. The woman must be paid so much, the man must be paid so much, equal pay for equal wages, and all. But that is not the practice. Because the people who are in charge must really follow the rules. Isn't that so? And who is to monitor them? You see, I won't be able to go around and talking to people how much they can getting. I can ask just casually, but I cannot go to the contractor, the building contractor, and say you pay the women just as you pay the men, because he must obey the law. And there must be people who are going to see that he implements it. Then she will have better food, even if the husband is not around, doesn't matter. She can see that her children go to a proper school and feed them well, clothe them well, because women are capable. You see, another thing always people feel is the woman is useless, she's not able to, but in the village, they might not have had education, but they know farming. Most of the work is done by them, dairying, looking after chicken, all these things. Now silk reeling and so looking after them. Now, all that is done by women only. In fields also, most of the work is done by women. Hard work might be done by men, and they take the produce to the market, sell and bring the money, drink it off, or do whatever they want, and the woman will be given a little, that's all. So the woman has the capacity, but you must give her an opportunity. We just talk and make big projects and have meetings and talk about it, sit in the ivory tower as they say, and talk about them, but nobody knows what exactly is happening at the ground level. That's what is important. That's where they're struggling, I said. India is shining on one side, but struggling at the main. And who are these people? 80% are such people.
What did you say?
So 80% in our country. Who are the rich? About 3%, 5%. The middle class is there. And then these struggling people are so many there. Because below poverty line, we still have so many people struggling. The money, the payments might have gone up, but the living conditions have to improve. It doesn't mean that only money will give you everything. It won't. Because if you have money and your child is sick, unless the medicine is there, what will you do? Money is there to buy the medicine. The doctor might not be there to look after, because there will be rows and rows of people and he might not have time to look at your child. Isn't that so?
So you have too few doctors.
Education you have, the ratio is very low here.
Yeah.
Policemen, like we say, robberies and crime, and we must control this and that, but the proportion is very low, because for a huge population you want more of them, and they will come and work for you if you pay them well. If you don't pay them well, they will take money from poor people to make themselves, That's why there's a lot of this wrong things. That is you have to pay for this, you have to pay for that. If you want to see the doctor, you have to pay that watchman. You want to see somebody else, so you want to have interview with a school principal for your child's admission, you have to pay something for the other man. Like that. That is coming because they are not paid well. If you pay the policeman well, that's what I always feel, you pay the teacher well, then the teacher will teach better, the better people will come to teach. Now because the payment is not well, people who don't get any other job, they come. So they are not interested in that. No, that's also important, isn't it? Like the policeman also. You see, you expect them to do all that, so you must really pay them well and choose the right type of people. In sports, we talk of we are so many crores and we just got one gold medal at Olympics. So very sad. Yes, I know. But the sportsmen, they need coaching, they need good food, they need proper places. Only then, just before Olympics, you just train them for a week or so, and then you give them some food, and then that's not enough. Now, so everything should be from the bottom. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Whatever you do, whether it's education, whether it's health, it's sports, whatever it is, just start. and then see that all the children are immunized. That because we have had this pulse polio to prevent this polio. One day, say in January, they give you 3 days in weeks, successive weeks. Say it will be 11th, then it will be 18th, and then it will be 28th. So those 3 days, all the children have to be immunized. So they do it so that they don't have that. If you leave out even one child or 2 or 3 children in the community, the virus might develop. So they're doing it, they say it's on a war footing, and they're trying to control that. Like that, you have to do for everything. Immunization for these 6 killer diseases we are doing. For every child born in the hospital, you give these shots to prevent TB, to prevent this tetanus, and to prevent for the measles they give at 9 months. And like this, there are the 3 killer diseases, and the 6 injections are given, so that the children are insured. But that happens only in the hospitals. But what about the children who are delivered at home? So the service, the outreach must be better. There are people, there are good schemes. The government has come out with such a beautiful, the blueprint is there, the map is there, as they say, the road map is all there. But the reach, the spoon should be really active. And the food that's ready must reach the mouth of the hungry person. That's where I don't think. Often we fail, I feel. Because the intentions are good. But somehow, somewhere, I don't know where we fall down. So this has to be done really well. Because the government this time has earmarked a lot of money in our plan, the 5-year plan. Lot of money for education, for health and all that. But the money is not enough. We want devoted people. I like to say duty, discipline and devotion. These 3 are very important. Otherwise, nothing gets done.
I think that you yourself had these 3 characters.
Well, otherwise, how will you, excuse me, I'll put the light on.
It's okay.
I have program. You see, planning is okay. Planning, we all put our heads together. Later on, somehow we lose touch with each other. Now we feel it's over. That's not over. I think we had to go on rehashing it, redoing it, because what we plan might not be suitable for that region, for that community, because each community is different, each village is different, each household is different. All of us don't think the same way. So it has to be redone and always tailored to suit the person who is the recipient. It cannot be one, we say, Talagilla Tirumantra. So if you say one thing, it doesn't apply to everybody. Because that's what I found when I went to the States. You see, all the roads, all the shops, they're all made to, in a standard way. So any truck can go anywhere. Any shop you go, you go to Kmart, you know where the undies are, you know where the shirts are, you know where the ladies' clothes are. Same way, so it's easy. But here it's not so, it's different. One alley is different, one place is different. You go there, and the tastes are different, the making is different. So a lot more of, you might say variety, but a lot more of confusion. Because you cannot have a simple, easy method. And then the judgment is also difficult. Because like this lady who came here, she prepares her food in a much different way because she comes from Bangalore. That's the west coast. I have been here, so Bangalore food is different. So that's why we have made friends and we exchange and all that. But for other things, it's not that easy. It's not easy like exchanging recipes. Say about education. We want something for our children. The North, they might want something else. Punjab, they might want something else. Like that. Everything has to be. There will be uniform thing. Some of them have to be, and some of them have to be, tailored to their needs. Health again. You see, our problems are different from, say, people living in Maharashtra. Their problems are different. In Orissa, it's different. It has different needs. You see, like when I say the North, and you see, Punjab, is northwest. Chandigarh, and that is Haryana, northwest. But when I say north, I was referring to Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Orissa, those places. And when you say east, you think of Bengal. And when you say south, you come down to Maharashtra, Andhra, and all of them. Madhya Pradesh is, Madhya means center, it's there. So these, we call it the Bimaru states. Bimaru means sick states. That is Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, and Uttar Pradesh. These places, they have the highest of infant mortality, and then maternal mortality rate, and then poverty, illiteracy, all these things are rampant there. So our government is concentrating on those, and from there also they have picked few districts, like 80 districts I think they have picked, to give special help, so that they'll come up. But we cannot neglect the other areas also. We have to, because otherwise it will again be haphazard. So we have to give, like in that book you are going to take.
Yeah.
There's a very nice article on reservation. You see, we have this complex problem of reservation. You must have heard of that.
Yeah.
Because of caste discrimination, some of people have been kept away from most of the things for years and years and years, for nearly 4,000 years. Now the government is trying to bring them up, whether it's education or employment or whatever it is. So they are giving this reservation. That is, if you're in a school, if there are 60 students from all the others who are all right, there must be 40 seats for these children who have been denied things like that. They're doing it. In every sphere they're doing it. From IIT, from IIM to the lowest school, they're seeing that they integrate them. But what is happening is, and then even in jobs, they are given reservations. Some such percentage must be given to the people who have been denied throughout. They haven't had, but they haven't been trained for that. So they find it hard. They are taken into the schools, but they don't have the background of education, because at home nobody is literate. Here I can help my children in other places, so they cannot compete with others. So they find it very hard. So what this gentleman, there's one article in that he has done is, it's the same, all of them are the same material, but you give them extra coaching, extra special help, like people with special needs, children who need it, like that, and then bring them up to a level, and then let them compete for jobs and for everything on merit basis. That stands to reason. He has taken it as a challenge. In 1 or 2 years, he has taken about 85 or 86 students like this, who are very backward, who haven't had any chance at all, from scheduled castes and scheduled tribes, the communities which were kept away. Now he has proved that they are equal to all the others, and merit-wise, they have trained so well. They have been absorbed on all the multinational companies which the other people were going in, and they have done well. So that special help is necessary before you thrust them into these places and say they are no good.
But as far as I can see, you're very good at breaking patterns. You have broken the pattern from one generation to the next very quickly. You remember,
I don't know if it is quick. I feel it should be quicker.
But in
should
some,
be quicker.
yeah, maybe it should be quicker. But I told you about this girl that we saw, the 2 girls we saw in the slum, and the mother, she had never gone to school, and she didn't know really anything about when she had her baby, how old she was.
Yeah,
so she
some of
couldn't
them are
tell us.
like that. Some of them are like
And
that.
the daughter, she was very bright, and
No, the brightness is there because the brain
but
is there.
also very.
The opportunities are not there. That's what I want to say. You must give the equal opportunities. That's what everybody needs. Same thing. You must. The background is different, but the opportunities must be same, and some extra special you must give them because they don't have the facility the others have at home.
No.
The parents are illiterate. Like the parents don't know how to say. Even if the daughter asks, the mother might not be able to answer. So, oh, go and ask your teacher. I may say, come, I'll help you, I'll read and I'll tell you. That help must come. Because once this generation goes, it will be better. Because next generation, she'll be able to help her children. See, it has to go step by step. But when you start, you have to give them some special extra like cushioning everywhere and give them a lot more of courage and self-confidence. That's what is lacking because they feel they haven't had the opportunity, they cannot compete with others, so self-confidence is lacking. So they start fighting. And then another thing about jobs, because there's so much unemployment. Now, of course, with this global recession, there'll be more and more and more. But at the ordinary level, see, people are capable of doing things on their own, like a cartman. He buys vegetables, puts them in the cart and goes. And like the man who picks up the racks, he's making money. He goes and sorts it out, and the old paper he sells it to the old paper man, the bottles he sells it to the bottle man, some money he's making. So they have got that idea that they can, so help them. It's small amounts, organized. They'll repay. Just we did in our experiment when we were doing in the villages.
Yeah.
I'll tell you just a little about one experiment.
Please tell about that.
Yeah, like in Bangladesh, that gentleman, he got a Nobel Prize for that. He started his Grameen Bank. That's small little loans for women. And then they have come up very well there. This one we started long back because my experience is 30 years ago, what we tried. 1975. We were given the experiment in 1976 and it was over by 1979 and it was proved okay. After that it continued for 15 years. But then what we thought was, we saw in the village the women have time, they are willing, they want to have a few more things for the children, say they want to buy a few more vegetables or whatever it is, a new dress, whatever it is. So we said, all right, we'll give you 50 rupees each. 50 rupees is how much? According to $1 it might be.
Yeah.
Almost. A little more than a So each one. So we selected 10 women, 50 rupees each. So just 500 rupees. It was not much for us. And then you do whatever you want and then let us know what's happening. You know, one woman with that 50 rupees bought a few vegetables and had a little place and said, whoever wants, I have already bought the vegetable, he can buy. And another one started making these idlis. 50 rupees she could make, say, about 100 idlis, she could make, say, ground the flour. And then she said, for men who are going for their fields, breakfast is ready, I sell your the idlis, you take. Like that, they had small things and they found the money was coming. So 50 rupees became 55, they were happy. Then another 10 rupees came, they were really happy. And so, at the end of the year, they all came back and paid 5 rupees, how much did they pay? 10 women, 5 rupees each. We said, they don't have to, if you pay back, it's okay, but they don't have to pay. No, we want to pay, we have helped us. Let one more lady get the help from this. They had repaid their money of 50. Along with it, they paid 5 rupees. They said one more lady can be helped like this. So you see how it works, because too much of money they cannot handle. Little sums they can handle. And they got this idea of repayment. You see, I have taken the money, I must give back. Then we told the banks, see, come and open a branch here. They said, no, we cannot trust these people. They have no money, they have no guarantee it won't come back. Said, look at this, the women have paid. So we are going to open bank accounts in the women's name. And you loan the money, they will repay. Then one bank came forward. They said yes. And it worked. They said the women repay because they are better that way. They feel, oh, I must repay because I am going to tell my children this honesty, truth and all that. But men somehow, they say, oh, it doesn't matter, like that. So all these women repaid. So now they have started more branches because of that. So one experiment and they find it's good, then they do it more.
It's fantastic.
Little things, I think, it makes a lot of difference. Even for, I told you about the child care. I see now it's come in a big way all over India. But those days we didn't have that. The women had to leave the children with the older children and go away to the fields. So the older children couldn't go to school, had to mind the baby at home. And then they wanted daughters to look after the house, do the household work and all. Till she gets married, she'll be there. Later on, and they wanted some help. The child also, we insisted the child should go to school, you shouldn't make them. Then they wondered, then what will our babies do? How can we look after them? Then we started this, we called it the Balwadi. That's the pre-kindergarten, like the place. We chose a woman from the village itself to come and sit and have these babies, look after them. So we thought we'll start giving them nutrition meals. If the baby is about 3 years old or so, what to cook, and so that way we can teach them. And then we had a cook to cook the meals and serve the children. So the women will come back and they will be happy that the children have been fed, they have been taught some nursery rhymes, something like that, and then they were all happy. So it caught up. And the government also has got many like that now. They started a huge, there is one friend of mine who wrote a book on that, and she had done experiments with the nutrition level going up and with this proper food and things. Otherwise the women, they feed their babies, the breastfeed is okay, but the supplementary diet, some people give, some people don't, and it's not always proper. So the babies are born healthy, and as long as they are fed, they're healthy. Then when they start having the teeth and they're taking food, solid food, by the time there's another baby in the house, so this baby doesn't get proper nutrition, and you have many infant mortality, and then a child under 5 children dying, and all these problems you have. So we thought we will have this. So that is also a good thing, but it hasn't reached all the villages. The state has got some program, and the center has got programs. So they have a kind of a, where in the village where there are 60 children, we will have this. Above that we can have, but under that we cannot have. So those children are getting left out. See, in the program, in a village, if there are more than 60 children, they have this facility. The government runs it. Otherwise they don't. So what will the under 60 do? So that's why we thought the NGOs, we organize the women into groups in villages. So they do that themselves. They don't have to wait for the government to do, because it's another wrong notion. Whatever, if the road is not right, we want the government to do. If something is not right, we want the government to do. So the women also should be self-sufficient. They should know how to take care of themselves. And then now we have got this panchayat system. I don't know if you know about the panchayat system. That's village self-governance. This was one of Gandhiji's dreams. We shouldn't look to the center for everything. The villages, it's their own village, it's their own children. So they should see that they have a school, they should see that they police themselves, they should see that whatever they want, if they want a small little check dam done, they should be able to do it. Roads, they should be able to do it. Self-help, that's what we say. So that we said we will do it through women. We organized small women's groups. Now that's also in a big way. You have many women's groups all over India, and then you train them in nutrition, in child care, in family planning, in cleanliness, and this latrine, because they just had this open fields to go, how it is good to have a latrine. And we had a big scheme, the SIDA people, some women from SIDA, that's the Swedish International Development Agency. The men were helping in a big way because there's a government program, government to government. So the women had collected some money, and I got to know of them, and then I took them over to one of the villages, and I said, let's have this model, this latrine here. Latrine is the bathroom. So that it will be kind of a showpiece for all the villages to come and learn. They said, we will be able to help you with money. They helped me with money. Then there's one gentleman called Bindeshwar Pathak, who brought in this Sulabh Shauchalaya movement. Now you see them everywhere. That is, you have these community toilets where people pay, the pay toilets, pay, and then that goes to the upkeep, maintenance, cleanliness and all that, so that people don't just use the roads or use the fields or anything. So we said we want to have one like that in that village. He got us all the help, and we built 5 for men, 5 for women, 5 bathing rooms, and 5 washing places. That's for the Dhobi, they had to wash their clothes also. And then we said we want to connect this biogas plant. Then itself we had that idea. Now of course it's coming up. So all these latrines were connected to a big pit where we had this biogas, and along with that they would put this cows, what do you call it, ma?
Dung.
Cow's dung and all these things also. So that this will come, the gas was used. That gas was used to pump water for the toilets, and then that gas was used to light one little stove. So we say there's nothing wrong in this. You can have tea here after you have washed yourselves and done everything. So we just wanted to tell them it's nothing wrong, the dung and the feces and all, it's all one. And with that manure, we had a rose garden there. So the women will know this is nice. But this, of course, this I'm telling you, 30 years ago we did it. I don't know what shape it is. I just hope everything is going on well. That is just one village. In another village we did a bank. Another village we gave something else we did, like that child care center. So that it will spread, because we had so many villages, we couldn't cover all the villages with our little money and with our little time and a few hands only, about 3/4, that's all.
But don't you think it's exploding right now?
No, it doesn't catch so fast.
No,
It doesn't catch so fast, because that's the problem here. Because some person from outside has to come and get them inspired, because they on their own they are not able to, because you have to run up and down for this help, that help, that help, and so some of them are able to, some of them are not. They are so busy with their own families, so they just keep quiet. It doesn't explode. If it had exploded, it would have done. And then in another village we trained these dais, I told you yesterday, the women who deliver the babies. We gave them kits and showed them the simple way of washing with soap. We kept a soap and a blade, and then some tying for that card and cotton wool and some little analgesic, so that they feel important, that whatever they do, they're doing it. And told them that you must use a mat, wash it, and then have clean curtains and things like that when the baby is going to be born, and use hot water, little things like that. So everything done in a little way, it will spread, but it will take a long time. It's not so easy. As I told you, the young people whom we had a youth group, we had youth groups and women's groups. Somebody asked me, why don't you tackle the men? I said, men we cannot. They are busy, they have their own ideas. Youth are still hopeful. They have hope and they are ready, and they come and listen to you. They just finished the schooling, or some of them don't go to school, they are out of school, doesn't matter, they have some spare time. Women, they will, because when we talk about the children in homes and all that, they will welcome us. But to go into the village, you have to get the permission of the big people there first. Like that man wouldn't let you in, and they wouldn't let us in. Who are these city people coming and spoiling our women? So you have to make friends with him and say, you are this, you are that, we just want to meet your ladies. But then the big man in the house should let us in. Then you must go to the daughter-in-law, you have to go in the kitchen, it takes a long time. So you have to meet the gentleman, and then the mother-in-law, and the son, and then the last will be the daughter-in-law, who is our target, whom we want to speak to really. So, but when we organize these women's groups, the women will bring the daughters-in-law, and so we thought that's our forum. There were a few, 30, 40 will sit under a tree. You will give them a talk, show them films, show them pictures. Just let them have the idea that there is a better world. It's not their own world, because not all of them get a chance to go here and there and see. They might have gone to the fair, they might have gone to a temple, they might have gone to the next village to visit some friends. That's all. Their world is very small. So you open the world to them. Then they want to learn. Then we got literacy classes. We started for adult literacy. the older people, because they said, oh, now what is the use if we don't? No, even if you want to go on a bus, you have to read the sign. You have to, if your husband writes a postcard for me, you must be able to read. Can you take it to your neighbor and say, and read the letter of my husband? So like that we had to induce them and give them lessons. Then when the older women started, the younger women also liked the people who hadn't gone to school. Then they understood the value of education. See, it first starts with literacy, just reading. Because if you ask them, they say, yes, I know how to write my name. But that doesn't stop there. So you have to go a little further. And then the young men, they were willing to do whatever we wanted them. If we ask them to plant trees, if we give them a talk on eco, they understood. If they say you want water, don't wait for big dams, big projects. You can have a small check dam, that we have done. They will do that. And if we told them, look, you plant more trees because there's so much of space here, and then your fruits, the fruits that other people will have, they will do it. And literacy classes and music classes, whatever it is, they will do. And they were quite willing to go out and do volunteer service. Like for immunization, we had a program. We'll say round up all the children here, just list them out, bring them over, they will do that. If we had a health camp and took some doctors from here, specialists and all that, because they don't have a chance to go into cities. So we will take a team from here. I used to do that. Some doctors, and they will it was a picnic for them. We'll give them good food and good village atmosphere, and these people will come and they will examine them and give them whatever it is, and if there was any special treatment needed, they will write the checks and send them, and that way. So that is the best way to make friends with them, health, you see. And some we collected plants and things from them. We had a big program then, growing trees and all that. So they gave us free. They said, if you are going to do it in the village, we will give you. So they gave us truckloads, and we took them and gave them. The villagers are very happy because they like to see things grow. That's what they have been doing all the time. So some special plants and things, and they were there. And then we took from this dairy industry, because my husband was in the dairy industry. They are all fond of cows, and so we said, why don't we do it in a better way? So from here I used to take those people, they will give them talks and show films. That's when they said, they joined hands with us. I was on behalf of family planning, so they will go and say, see, this year your wife shouldn't have a baby, your cow should have a calf. Then you will have more income. Then let your wife have a baby 2 years later, then there will be plenty of money and milk and good. Like that they used to do that. That was really good. I thought a good strategy. The silk people, because in those areas most of them rear the silkworms and then cocoons, and then they weave also. So we took from the sericulture department. The government has beautiful departments, beautiful extension education programs. They have films, but when they go to the village, they don't know whom to contact, and everybody is away. Then when we had a forum, organized it like the women's group and youth group, they could get hold of them, and they will have a definite day, and they were happy coming. Then they started coming for agriculture, for dairying, for whatever it was, whatever new program, like rodent control, pest control. So we chose one village and we said, you please teach them how to keep the rats away, because they all had their bins and they will bring but the rats will eat away, and then the diseases will come and they won't have anything. So that one whole village will be controlled, rodent control, and that. Like that we had for different programs for different villages. We hoped other people will come and see, but as I told you, it will take some time unless they themselves know that it is of value. It's difficult to change them. They won't just do things because you tell them. They have to think and they have to understand. That is a little difficult, but they are doing it.
You were saying about the cow. They could have a cow, but if the cow here is holy,
Yes, you don't cut and eat it.
You can't do anything with it, can you?
You don't kill it, that's what.
But you
use the milk.
You use the milk?
Yeah. Milk is, I believe in India we have the highest number of cows.
Yeah.
And then milk, of course, milk production, it's second to none. And we consume more dairy products than anybody else in
Really?
India because we are a huge population. Dairy products is milk, ghee, butter, and curds. Cheese is very little, just a little here and there. Not everybody. And so it is. And so for that, the dairy people gave me this special grass, this grass from Australia, and everyone. They came and planted it wherever I asked them. So people have been helping us. Then from Mental Health Institute, because I was there on the board for them, on the visitors board for this National Institute of Mental Health. So they started their rural program also because I used to take them there from here, a psychiatric nurse, a psychiatrist, a doctor, all of them, and give them, because there they have no idea if somebody is not well, somebody is depressed, somebody has suicidal tendencies, they just go to the temple and pray. Sometimes it helps because that faith is there, but that's not enough. So these people will go and talk to them, and then they were encouraged to, the awareness creation. So that they all helped. Whoever you ask, they come and help. But you must ask. As they say, ask, the door will be open. So that we want to prepare them. They must ask. Then people will give. If they are not ready, whatever you say, they won't take it. You must prepare them first. This is this, this is this. Once I remember in my zeal, I thought, we have got this opportunity, we must transform everything. So I said, you see this radish, this Japanese radish, this long white radish, you must grow. And so one villager, some of them really grew that. Then they said, there's no market, ma, you wanted us to grow that. When we take to the market, nobody eats it. Because they say it doesn't have the twang, it doesn't have that, the taste that so everything is spoiled. I felt sad. Then I told somebody, soya, because the Chinese, the Japanese, they are, soya is so good. So they said, okay, soya. They said, nobody is ready, but now everybody is ready. So that must come. Now if they grow, they will feel happy. So you cannot push anything. So same thing with something else. I remember they all laughed at me. Papaya. Because this BT company was starting here, and they said they are going to experiment with papaya seeds and things like that. So they came and gave a talk and said, you grow papayas, we'll take all the papayas you grow. We have gotten, but poor farmers, they grew thinking these people will do. But they had changed that, I don't know. Some other program came in, so they had to sell all the papayas in the market only. So you cannot force the pace. You can just give all the, can we force a plant to grow? We can only dig and see that the manure is there, the soil is there, the water is there, and put a seed, but we have to watch and watch and watch and wait. We cannot pull it and make it grow fast. Like that, it very much like that.
What about the caste system?
I'll tell you, you see, the caste system has become rigid, but it was not so when it was thought of. That's ages ago, 4,000, 5,000 years ago. In their wisdom, they felt every man doesn't have the same capacity and doesn't have the same calling. Each one can be proficient in something that he wants to do, and he can do it. So they said, some people are good for fighting, so we'll develop them to guard our country. Some people are good in the thoughts and then thinking process, and so we will have them for studies and intellectual development. Then some people are good in communication. They can go out, they can mix with people, so they can be good in our say business wise, buying and selling things and bringing new things, taking our things, products like that. And some people who are not happy with any of this, who don't want to be fighters, who don't want to be the intelligentsia, who don't want to go out, and they we have the land here, they can till the soil, they can be carpenters, they can be smiths, blacksmiths, they can, whatever they want to do, they can do, like that. So they are serving the whole community, ourselves and all. Each group is serving the community. So the Brahmins, so-called Brahmins, I am a Brahmin, they had to devote all the time to studies. They need not concern themselves with growing food or fighting or going out of the country, because they have to study. So they have good plans, they have good ideas, they teach the people to lead a good life, they help the king with his, whatever he wants, counseling, all those things. So the community will support them. They don't have to earn their living by these ways. They will devote their entire time in studies. And like in Sparta, you had that, you must have read about that Plato's
In
Republic.
Greece, yeah.
He also thought like that. Socrates also thought like that. And the fighters, we must see that we feed them well. They're really given good places to live, and they must have a good life, so that they fight for the country and they have that physique good, and they develop their physique well. And the other people who like to go out and come, and then we must give them they are free to do that. So they build their ships or go out and maritime nations and like that. And that's how trade developed. No? These are the traders, they will do it. And the other people are like our younger brothers. So they are doing all these things to help us. So we look after them. So it was a kind of a interrelated brothers, you can say. One big brother to just study, one second brother to see that everybody is kept safe, the other brother to go out and come, the other brother to fetch and carry and do whatever has to be done. That's how it developed. But it was not rigid. If you felt you liked that, you could. It was just a calling. You could do that. Later on, over the years, over the ages, it became rigid. So a child born to me will only go for studies. He won't go to the army. He won't go for this. A child born to that man will only train for army. He won't do any other thing. And these people who are doing these trades, they won't take up studies, or they won't go on this, they will only, like that rigidity came. That was the wrong thing. That should not have happened. And then those days, there were days they wouldn't eat together. They had the different kinds of food. That was understood, because a person in the army, he would eat meat, he will drink, he will smoke, because everybody condoned him. He said, okay, he has to be strong, he has to forget this, he can eat it. So, okay, he can do that. But a Brahmin was not supposed to do it. He said, no, because if you eat all that, then your mind is spoiled, then you won't be able to concentrate on your studies, and it has been proved. A vegetarian diet and a simple diet will make the brain work better. Like if you have the fighting spirit and all that will come if you have a different kind of diet. It has been proved like that. Yes. And a working person, like he needs more calories, no? Because a person sitting and reading doesn't need more calories. But a hard-working person working in the field and all, he needs more. So he has to eat good, rich, strong food, like that. Food was different. And then religious practices were different, and the living ways were different. Educational qualifications became different, because he needn't do much, but this man has to. Like that, so there's a kind of a blocking. Each one was expected to do a different thing. People born in that house will be brought up like that, and they will marry only into families like that, not other families. That might have been good, because it was a kind of a going forward, the same kind of food, the same kind of life and all that. But again, it made it rigid. You see, that's why that the freedom is there. Religion might be the same, but in the caste, you see, all of us are Hindus, but the caste is different. So that mixing, that easy mixing didn't come. But now it's going, inter-caste marriages are there. People marry and people feel, some marriages break down, some marriages don't, like in any other marriage. Now it's going, but it's not going fast enough. That's
But is the caste system, is that a religious thing or no?
Pardon?
the caste system isn't a religious system then.
It's not because of religion.
No, it's not because of religion.
No.
It's something different.
No, they put it down to religion, but in religion everybody is the same. You see, we all of us have the same Atma, we say.
Yeah.
We all have the same being, like the cell. All of us are born from the same person. All of us are the similar in everything. So it's not. You see, there's a confusion. People put it down to religion because it was done, it was said in Hinduism. In the Hindu scriptures, one of the scriptures, it is said, you see, some people were born for this, some people were born for this, some people for some people. So, these people, let them do it well, those let them do it well. So, they said it's religion. So, it is in Hinduism, but it's not the true spirit of religion. What was said then wasn't understood, and it was sort of misinterpreted. Like we say amongst Muslims, they say you must have many, you can have many wives, many, things like that. But that's not true. One of the Muslim women who has studied the Quran, she said, no, it's not like that. What they say is in the Quran, what is it? It's misinterpreted. It said, you see, if you can treat all your wives properly, the same way, you can even afford to marry 4 wives. But you must keep them all the similar way. Is that possible? And then children also, they say, if you can see that all your children are educated, you can have any number. But can you educate every child? That's how. But they forget that and say this. That's what that lady told me. You see, the misinterpretation is there. And they don't say the proper, the spirit. Spirit is different, what you say. And any religion is like that, you see. The great people are the same, they have meant the same thing. You mustn't covet other people's things, you must be truthful, you must be, you have good character, and all these things, every religion says. But later on people say, they color it and say, this is not right, that's not right. It's kind of a way of life is different, that's all.
Oh, what did you say again?
Hinduism, it's not a religion.
No.
No, it's just a way of life. Because what is believed is, people are born, everybody born has the freedom to think of God as he wants to or she wants to. The conception might be different, but the way of life has to be proper. That's the ethical part. You see, all the tenets that you have in other religions, the same thing, like you must be truthful, all these good things. That is, the positive qualities have to be developed. The negative qualities have to be done away with, not even suppressed, just done away with. And there are many schools of thought. When you say Hinduism, in this way of thinking, there are many schools of thought. And one school says there's no God at all. Doesn't matter, there's no quarrel. If you think so, well and good. That's how the Buddhism came from that. Because they don't attribute any God or anything, they just said the wheel. That's why you are born, you go, you are born, so as long as you are here, you must do your proper job and be correct. That's what they say. Jainism again, they say, there are great men, but there's no God as such, but all these gods are there. But you don't have to have a God like that and worship. So they worship only the saints. The saints, the people who have been really good and they have taught them all the way of life. And in amongst so-called Hindus also, there are many people who think in different ways. There's no quarrel about that.
No.
Because they can do what they want, but still they are a Hindu. But these main things we must have in mind. The positive qualities, developing the positive virtues. That's what is important. That's why it's only called as a way of life. And then the main thing is, we say it's a global village now. But in the ancient, that's one of our teachers, Sri Shankaracharya, he has said, Mata cha Devi Parvati, Pita Maheshwaraha, Bandavaha Shiva Bhaktaha, Swadesho hi Bhuvanatrayam. He says, who is my mother? Mother Nature. And who is my father? that is the immanent reality, the universal presence. Mother is that primeval energy, Mother Earth you can call it. And then who are my brothers and sisters? All who have noble thoughts and do good deeds. Shiva Bhakta, Swadesham, which is my country. All the three words is my country. Vasudha eva kutumbakam, because the whole world is my family, he says. This is, the concept is that. So everybody is welcome. That's why you will remember in India so many people came. The first Christians came, then the Parsis came, now the Buddhists have come. No, like that, there are so many religions here. Everybody is thriving well. The Muslims came. But now the politicians, they are sort of putting people up and creating jealousies and helping one side because they want their votes, now pressing the other side because they don't want their votes, like that. So it has become vote bank politics. Otherwise, in India we had so many kinds of people. We are all living in harmony. Now we hear people are going throwing stones at churches and things like that. It really horrifies me. Because I feel for that matter, all the great people have to be respected. Jesus Christ is an incarnation of Krishna. I think because Krishna, we believe, the greatest God, you call him by any name, comes whenever we need him. When people need, he comes. He comes and helps us and goes. So you might be one, I don't know. We don't know when they are with us, we don't know who is God, who is not God. But that potentiality is there in each one of us. So if you grow and if you expand, really expand your heart and mind to include everybody, and every one is your same. If you think of everybody as the same, then there is no quarrel at all. There is no heartburn, there is no jealousy, nothing like that. But now, people were so simple, people were believing, they would believe in proper, say, you must treat a guest well, you must treat your mother and father well, you must look after children well, like that. All those family ties and tendencies and group mentality, all that was there. But slowly the breakup is coming. Like the family is breaking up, the villages are breaking up, countries are breaking up. I think more of competition, more of jealousy, all the bad qualities coming in when it should not be. So we have to do our best to send away the bad qualities and really improve ourselves. One gentleman told me, I had taken him to a village to talk about family planning. He said, Amma, you make your family small, you expand your heart. Think of other people as your family, other children. You don't have to have your own family, more and more children. What about all the other children? You look after them also. It appealed to me. I think that's really correct.